Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Technology Source's virtual roundtable series. I am Rob Olson, your host. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer of Technology Source. A little bit about our company before we get started. Technology Source is a solution partner that builds unique, best-in-breed solutions for our trusted advisors and their clients. By leveraging a network of over 500 providers in managed IT, cybersecurity, telecom, mobility, AI, and analytics, we design solutions tailored to reduce operational expenses, improve efficiencies, and transform the customer experience. The virtual roundtable is something that occurs each month. During the webinar, we highlight one of our carefully curated and highly unique solutions that our trusted advisors and their clients have found to be extremely valuable. This month is no different, as we'll be discussing the benefits of a FISAS AI-powered security solution. A little bit about FISAS. FISAS delivers a fully managed cloud-based physical security platform that unites video, access control, sensors, alarms, and visitor management into a single interface. Designed as a subscription service, it eliminates costly hardware and enables real-time 24/7 monitoring from anywhere with AI-driven insights, scalable deployment, and automatic updates for modern proactive facility protection. And with that, over to our friends at FISAS to introduce you guys. We got Josh Dickinson, Chief Revenue Officer over at FISAS. Josh, welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Good to see you made it home from Vegas in one piece.
My liver's still curing itself.
Yes, I'm sure. And then we got Nicole LaFord, National Sales Specialist and Demo Extraordinaire. Nicole, welcome. Glad you're here as well.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
So I have a few questions I wanted to go ahead and answer or ask of you. We'll go through that here right now. So let's start with a few things. Reactive to proactive security. 9 in 10 organizations say physical security incidents aren't improving. Why are traditional approaches falling short? And what does a proactive AI-driven security strategy actually look like in practice? Who wants to take a swat at that?
That's a good question. So that traditional system that you buy in security is going to be very
Yeah.
piecemeal together. So with FISAS, what we do is we work with a vendor called Verkada, Verkada, and we have the only MSP agreement with them that's out there. Everybody loves their technology, not the pricing and the management always. So that's really where we come into play. But the real value of Verkada is it's one pane of glass for everything. So it's not piecemealing your camera system over here and you getting a door system over here and another separate alarm system over here and trying to figure out how they intermingle. With Verkada's system, it's all integrated together, AI driven. Different examples of is like tailgating, right? So you can actually tie a door and a camera together where you have tailgating alerts. So one person swipes their badge and 4 people enter. Proactively, you get that a text message so that way you know that you have people in that building that shouldn't be, versus kind of the traditional model of you find out when you find out. The
Right.
facial recognition, right? If you or I actually just got off a call a couple minutes ago with a construction company who get they have constantly having tools and things stolen. So we don't deliver a camera system where we can actually geofence or put up an invisible line around the facility so that way after 6 o'clock at night, whenever nobody should be on premise, if somebody walks over that line, you automatically get a text alert. So again, proactively, you can call the police, you can track them down, you can do whatever you need to at that point. So it really gives you that advantage of kind of that forethought instead of always being reactive.
Great.
Um,
Nicole, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, he actually, nailed it pretty smart there with all the different AI attributes and what's the importance of having, that overlay with Verkada being all within that single pane and all the software has been developed, in-house where you don't have to do all those added layers and bring in all these other vendors. So you have that one throat or one back to pat too.
Yeah, net access issues with tailgating is a big one. I worked years ago next to a call center, and they would churn through people. And some of these people are not very nice people. They'd come back the next day and try to enter the building and get in fights. And having that ability to know who's coming in your facility, I think, is a critical security aspect today. Did you have anything else you want to add to that, Josh?
yeah, I was gonna say also one of the newer, cooler features that Verkada is about to release or just released is the ability to open doors by via facial recognition.
Wow.
So that way you can actually have you have everybody uploaded in that's supposed to be there, and if somebody is not there, obviously they won't be able to get in the door. So that's one of the newer, cooler features that's coming out as we speak.
Is that being used by schools at this point? I mean, we hear about these school shootings. It seems like something like this would be a great solution to keep people out of our schools. Is this something being used by schools today?
Yeah, I think it definitely is, or it can be. I think because before you had to have that specific person uploaded into into the system to get an alert if they showed up on camera. Now in a school environment, you can load all the student IDs in, and now if somebody shows up that is not on there, you automatically get that alert. So if it's just a visitor walking in on camera, you'll still get an alert, but you know there's a visitor. If it's a guy with a gun outside, well, you know there's not a
Mhm.
it's somebody else. But
Mhm.
So, no, that's great, great input. So, with 70% of breaches tied to physical access, where are legacy systems breaking down? And how can cloud managed access control transform security while improving the user experience? So we talked a little bit about access in the last question. This is kind of a little more detail would be nice if you don't mind. Kind of a comparison and contrast between an older system and the new system.
yeah, so with Verkada, we can actually a couple different things with this. The users, it is an easy system to use. We can actually upload the users into Active Directory using Active Directory, so
Mhm.
that way you have the right people there. If you terminate somebody, they automatically get eliminated as you
Nice.
eliminate their access. At the same time, also you have lots of different aspects of access control. You have the gates outside your property that raise as cars come in. You can set up LPR or license plate reading cameras to automatically raise those gates and lower them reading the license plate, so you don't have to type in a code or anything. Bluetooth enablement as well. You
Hmm.
download an app, and as you're approaching the door, you don't have to pull out or put your coffee down to pull out your key fob. You can just, as you approach the door, it automatically opens for you. And you
Hmm.
can also set the sensitivity level on it, whether you need a two-factor authentication to actually tap your card, or if you want it to be picking up your Bluetooth 20 feet away. So there's lots of different kind of angles and flexibility in that sense. Everything is available via the app or browser. So if you're on a cruise in the Bahamas and you see something on camera or somebody's locked out of the building, they give you a call, you can unlock the door from your phone. At the same time, you can do a complete lockdown with a press of a button from your phone if there is some kind of incident. So there's lots of different capabilities in that sense. Um, and I mean, even getting into elevators and stuff like that, we've done all that as well. So it really just kind of depends on what that customer's need is, but we can create that proactive system driven by that cameras, doors, alarms, all under that one umbrella.
That's an amazing development in security because up to now it's just been a very simple card key. And that card key could, as you said earlier, one person can key in and five people can jump out of the bushes and run into the building.
Hmm.
And then the idea of the panic capability of locking down the facility in the event. I mean, we see these retailers that a van will pull up and 10 people jump out and run towards the door. If they had that technology, they could theoretically lock the doors and prevent those people from getting in the building in the first place. So
Yeah.
the technology that you're bringing to the market with this product is really unbelievable. Nicole, did you want to add anything to what Josh had said?
Just to go off the elevators real quick, because those ones, there are some places where you want to grant access to different levels. That it is capable, and it's probably one of the best things, especially when it's in a unit that has multi-tenants in it, and only certain people can have access to certain levels. So you're bringing in that security to ensure that you don't have people just randomly wandering around on your floor.
Well, great point. That is a great application. Let's talk a little bit about how AI is being used by business leaders because everyone's talking about AI. We hear this in the news, we hear this, we read it in print, but very few companies have deployed it. What's the fastest, lowest risk way for organizations to adopt AI-powered security and start seeing real value without adding a bunch of complexity?
I'm going to give you an example from last week.
Perfect.
Vape sensors. Last week in Vegas, I think several people had $500 charges from the room for having vape sensor or for because the hotel rooms have vape sensors in their rooms now. So people like me that vape can't do it in a room anymore and get a $500 charge per incident. So for a $10 device per month, and you can charge $500 a night for vaping in your room, that's pretty good ROI. And that's just a real simple one. We put vape sensors also in high school bathrooms with a camera tied to the outside
Mhm.
of it. If the vape sensor goes off, the vice principal will receive 3 minutes of footage of who went in and out of the bathrooms.
So
But
just these
that
sensors can be a big, and make a big impact to a business to deploy these.
Yes.
Absolutely, especially after this last week. I mean, there's a whole hotel industry now that we can go chase after and really show an ROI on it. My,
Or a clogged sink. I think humidity is another thing this sensor will do, right? Is it'll sense
yeah,
increase in
yeah,
humidity.
humidity, temperature, volatile compounds. We put those in manufacturing warehouses. It also does decibels. So if we don't technically have a gunshot or a gun detector, but we could set those as certain parameters or decibel levels. So that way, if a gunshot goes off, it's above that decibel, you automatically get that alert. So there's different things we can kind of set up behind the scenes for every customer just based on what they're needing. Going back to your question, as far as business analytics and AI, we have one customer that we're actually deploying right now. It's a tire store or tire company in several hundred locations. But what they're using it for is completely business analytics from start to, they're not using it for security as much as they are for the information.
Right.
So they have license plate reading cameras pointed as the cars drive up, the license plate reading cameras tied it or API'd into their CRM so they know exactly what the customer's name is, what they're there for, what they've done in the past, so they can address, hey, Rob, thanks for joining us today. I see we're doing your oil change. Go and have a seat over there and whatnot. So, but they can address that customer experience out of the gates. What they're also doing is they're doing a heat mapping to see where everybody congregates. Where should they have their little retail counters with snacks and
Mhm.
whatnot in there based on where people go, as well as the path that people follow throughout the store also. So that way they can kind of maneuver their store, their retail products to make sure it fits what the customer's doing. They're also using it as a people counter. So that way they know how many people or cars are in at any given time. So that way they can staff accordingly. So there's a lot of different kind of metrics on there. You don't want to have 25 people on staff right now when you have only two cars in it on a normal day. You can kind of use those numbers to be able to adjust accordingly. There's a lot of different things based on ROI as well as cost savings that they can kind of apply it to.
No, the interesting thing is it's not just security, right? It's also something that's now being utilized to drive revenue, whether it's identifying who the customer is before they pull in the bay, knowing when their last service was, knowing what type of oil they need, so it's a faster cycle of in and out. The traffic patterns, being able to place impulse buys where there's the highest traffic. All those things make a lot of sense, and it's the technology as it continues to evolve, the applications continue to grow, and that's something that I never considered is the revenue aspect of it. From a hotel's perspective, clearly they want to protect the environment. They don't want to have their rooms smelling of smoke or other materials. And so they put these fines in place, but there's also a revenue aspect to that because in the case of a vapor, you're probably not going to leave any residue behind. So that just becomes a revenue opportunity for them. So that's an interesting aspect. Nicole, what would you like to add?
I was going to say also for schools though, schools
Mhm.
don't care about kids vaping as much as they care about their toilets getting clogged and the plumbing problems it causes whenever they throw the vapes down the toilet when they get caught and trying to hide them. So
Right.
that's the real problem that schools have. They don't care about the vaping itself.
And if it does overflow, the good news was you wouldn't do a whole lot of damage because you'd be alerted that the humidity jumped. Somebody can run in there really quick and shut the water off or unclog the toilet or whatever it was.
Well,
Yes.
we've talked to schools where they have entire sections of schools shut down because they don't have enough teachers to man the bathrooms during their breaks. And so because everybody throws their vapes down the toilet and then they end up having this huge plumbing problem and whatnot, it costs them a lot of money once that happens.
Yeah, we're going to demonstrate this in just a little bit, how this product works, and you'll be able to see some of these incredible things that Josh and Nicole have been sharing. And I think that's the best way for people to understand it because it does so much, and it's so groundbreaking in terms of the technology that you're employing that I think the best way would be the demo. So we got a couple more questions, and then we'll move to that. Nicole, anything you want to add to the issue?
Yeah, I would say, really also when you're talking about the manufacturing industry, you can reduce the amount of workman's comp from
Hmm.
stupidity. And I'm just putting it out there because there are a lot of stupid employees, as I was talking with one recently, that gets on the fork of the lift while the operator lifts the fork up to reach something on the top of the rack instead of using a ladder. Now think about it. If there was any, sudden movement, jerking or whatever, he's at the top, he falls, and then he turns around and, claims workman's comp. So
Mhm.
what the cameras have the ability of detecting is when you put a line and do a line crossing and you get the alert, you can go and see, how are they doing it? Are they doing it the safe way or are they doing it the reckless way? And if they're doing it the reckless way, now you have something to go back to the whoever the workman's comp company is saying, no, this is not workman's comp. So it's also it's protecting the organization, but it's also an education for the employees to ensure that they are abiding by the rules properly.
Yeah,
Some
because
of
you
the
can't.
AI alerts that just got put, oh, sorry, some of the AI alerts that just got updated as well as like PPE, right? So now you can actually check out, you can actually make sure, get alerted if your employees aren't wearing a hard hat or safety goggles or a vest. So you can get alerted ahead of time. So it's not, again, it's a proactive approach and not something happening and then going back and looking at it. Slip and fall is also a recent update. So now if somebody slips and falls, you automatically get a text. You can first of all make sure they're okay, but then you can go make sure that they didn't spill coffee first and just fall down intentionally behind the scenes. So there's a lot of different things you can take care of immediately instead of finding out 2 months later whenever they file that claim and you don't have video footage anymore.
In those slip and falls, there are folks out there that make that a living. They make that their career. They'll fall and they'll sue the store and make some money. And having that video evidence is the only way to protect yourself against those suits.
Mhm.
Um, we talked a little bit about facial recognition. The adoption of facial recognition has increased 320% in the past year. But where does it truly deliver results? How can organizations use it responsibly to detect threats faster and prevent incidents before they escalate? I mean, we're
Yeah,
just
we
in Vegas
just
last week. I can think of a million applications for those casinos, right?
Mhm.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, and we kind of talked about this. I mean, you can upload people proactively, so you get alerted if
Mhm.
they come on site. I mean, whether it's good or bad, right? You can have your CEO of a major company uploaded, so that way, if he
Mhm.
happens to show up unexpectedly, you get that alert, and it's all hands on deck. And
Right.
then the reverse fact, to reverse it, you can have it where somebody that keeps showing up on site causing issues or ruckus, upload their face, and if they show up on any of your locations, any of your cameras, again, you get that text on site. So a disgruntled ex-employee and you have
Mhm.
7 buildings, you may go to building, whereas now you can actually make sure that any of the buildings he goes to, you automatically get that alert. Same with customers, dine and dashing. We have a customer at 7 different restaurants, high-end chain, one GM, and they had a problem with dine and dashers. So now anytime somebody doesn't pay their bill, they just circle that person's face, and if that person shows up on camera of any of his 7 restaurants, he gets that text, sends the video footage to his local manager, and has him take care of it.
No, that's a great point. And I can imagine every business faces the challenge of somebody who's been ejected from the premises, only to have them come back repeatedly and have to continue to refer to the police for help, where you can identify that person sooner, maybe even prevent them from gaining access to the building in the first place.
Sure.
And again, a million applications for schools, right? Who should be in the school, who shouldn't be in the school, right?
Mhm. And I think that's
Um,
probably the easiest case just in general at this point, just as far as just public safety and as we see different stories across the news.
One of the things you mentioned to me before the call was that in a school environment, the cameras will automatically blur out the faces of the children. Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, so it's
Mhm.
completely possible. They are HIPAA compliant. So whether it's in a medical environment where you have other patients and you don't want them on camera, or if it's a school environment where there's minors, you can blur out all the extra people that are not involved in the incident.
You can also, because you can do privacy settings. So, like, I have a child care center that I'm working on right now, and the changing tables. They don't obviously want any of the children or babies to be seen on camera. You can do the privacy setting over that changing table, so it's always blacked out 100%.
That's great. So, security as a service, something that you brought to the market. I think you're one of the few companies that do this. How is the shift to a fully managed subscription-based model changing the game for physical security? And why are more organizations moving away from fragmented do-it-yourself solutions?
So same as the internet service, right? Or another utility. It turns into
Mhm.
that monthly payment. So it makes it easier for them to purchase it. At the same time, everybody loves Verkada's technology. It's second to none, but not everybody loves their pricing model or their aftermarket support. And that's really where we come into play is we take the hardware, the licensing support offered as an OpEx model or a monthly fee. So they just pay it as a utility every month. And then as the reason we all have jobs is because most companies don't have that IT team behind the scenes, and that's really where we step in and we do everything white glove, start to finish. We
Mhm.
have a very simple six-step sales process that we do because most telecom partners haven't sold security. We do an intro call with the customer. We then do a demo with our engineering team and provide budgetary pricing. If they like the technology from the demo and they like the pricing model, then we actually roll a truck for free. So we'll send the technician out, they'll do a full walkabout and bring us back a full scope of work. We have six Verkada engineers on staff that fully customize every single floor plan based on what that customer is looking for, needing, and then we project manage the installation, set up the entire security posture, all the different AI alerts that they want, and then basically become an extension of their security team going forward. Anything they need, they just reach out. One thing that makes us extremely unique and is part of the service also is that we do free truck rolls for life of the account. So if a
Mm.
camera breaks, a door malfunctions, we're going to be alerting the customer after 15 minutes. And we start the truck roll process, start arming the equipment on their behalf. Doesn't cost them a single dime just besides their monthly fee that they pay. So it really turns into that service behind the scenes that they can focus on their business and we'll focus on their security.
Yeah, and the managed aspect of it makes so much more sense than shelling out a bunch of capital, right? Emptying your bank account. And then later on, to your point, a camera fails. There's some other issue with the system. You have to roll a truck. Now that's money that's not budgeted. And so what often happens in my experience is that you end up having one, two, three, four cameras that aren't working because you don't have an easy process to fix it. It may not be budgeted to get it fixed. What is the average camera truck roll and equipment cost end up being to a business owner?
I mean, if a camera breaks and you have to buy your own camera all over again, and then you have another truck roll of another 750 to 1,200 bucks, give or take, if they need cherry pickers and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So it does mount up. And kind of the analogy I always use is if you have if you mow the lawn and you have a sprinkler system, if you nick that first sprinkler head, you normally don't go and call a technician after that first one. You wait till you have three, four heads where it's actually they are broken to call that technician where it's worth your time, worth your money for that person to come out and fix them all at once. And customers do the same thing with their cameras. If I had to make a guess, I'd say 40% of all the outstanding cameras in the world don't work, and they're just used more as deterrents, and they don't want to bother getting them fixed. And that's really where we come in is we shorten that liability because what happens if something does happen in that instance where you should have had footage and now your camera's been broken for however long and that's where we step in and really add a value.
All right, Nicole.
Yeah, you know what? I will leave it to the expert who started it. It was greatly stated.
No, I like the model, and it's truly differentiating, and it makes sense, right? There's a lot of expensive equipment. Labor's not cheap. Rolling trucks aren't cheap, and making sure that you maintain that system, keep everything operating, is critical to the security of your building and the safety of your employees. Um, so one last question before the demo, and that is regarding the future of intelligent security. So looking ahead, how will AI, automation, and real-time analytics continue to reshape physical security? And what should organizations be doing now to stay ahead?
Lasers. Everything's about
It's a tough one to start.
lasers and tigers. That's the best security approach possible. No, I mean, I kind of think about Minority Report, if the old Tom Cruise movie, whenever you think about the future of security, how crazy can it be to see the future of what you're going to do? And I really think that's where the path that Verkada is on, is that it brings that proactive approach. It kind of looks into the future as far as the capability or what's potentially going to happen. And then it gives you options to be able to remediate that ahead of time with the alerts, with the alarms, with all the different analytics. And so I really think it's kind of moving in that path. And then going back to the ROI and kind of just the business analytics, it just kind of makes sense where you now have a proactive security approach with driving business and it kind of just falls in line together.
One of the things you mentioned uh, at some point prior was you no longer have to have a team of security professionals watching monitors, that you
Right.
can really run your security from your cell phone or your laptop. I found
Yeah.
that probably one of the most interesting things about the platform, because when you hear about all the things it does and the complexity of the product in terms of what it can do for the business owner, you wouldn't think that that's something that can be managed by a single person or even the owner themselves. You would think you would need a staff of people. And the amazing thing about your product with Verkada is that they've managed to take something very, very complex and make it very, very easy to use,
Mhm.
which doesn't
No, that's
exist very
well
often.
said.
It doesn't exist very often. Nicole?
When you're talking about the future and everything,
Mhm.
just Verkada's constantly, they're innovative. And that is the great thing
Mhm.
about them is they're always taking the feedback that, we provide or that they get from the general, users out there, of things that they want to see. So, we talked about it earlier and we touched on it with the smart list alerts. So if you have new people that are showing up, now you can get alerts for that. So you're always staying proactive, of who is actually visiting your facility. But one of the other ones that we didn't touch about earlier was, they're constantly in beta trial. So they're always putting new things out there for beta to see and make sure that we're getting the analytics that are, needed from it. And before they put it into live motion, for example, the new fighting one, where it can detect fighting now that's occurring at schools or in the workplace, wherever it's occurring, that you have the camera station that's picking it up. So you're being way more proactive on ensuring the safety of not just yourself, your employees, but even the guests that are around you.
Yeah, and for businesses that have been putting off the implementation of a physical security solution or an updated solution, the FISAS managed aspect of this makes it affordable. It breaks it into monthly payments. It's fully managed. You don't need a bunch of staff to maintain. It seems like a great solution. I know that you wanted to show us the demo. I'd
Mhm.
love to show the audience just how powerful this product really, really is. So if you want to go ahead and launch that, we can walk through it. I think
Yeah.
it's a fascinating product. And again, I don't know many organizations that offer this monthly recurring managed solution where all the services, all the challenges you might face are addressed by FISAS for the client. They don't have to go find a contractor. They don't have to identify budget. It's all baked in.
Absolutely. And while she's pulling that up, there's a couple questions in there.
Oh, good, good.
Is there a play to sell this through commercial insurance brokers, underwriters for the value of the ROI? Coincidentally enough, I've heard insurance more times in the last 2 days than I have in the last week. We had a customer yesterday request the exact customer or camera specs for his insurance company, so that way he could get a lower deductible. And then I also spoke to somebody this morning. It was a construction company that they needed for the liability as well for be able to show the insurance company that they have stuff in place of their stuff is secure.
Any other
And
questions? Or is that the only one?
One more. Would you be able to tie a door into locks with facial recognition to allow or disallow access? And I don't think we mentioned that, but that's coming out now, or it's any day now. It's about to be released, so we should be able to do that.
So the camera will identify you as somebody who should not be in the building and will not allow the access pad to open the door.
Correct.
Okay.
uh, Cindy has her hand raised. I don't know if she's
Yeah.
able to chat or if we allow her to talk.
Renee, go ahead and just put your question in chat and we'll read it out to the audience. All right, we'll go ahead and we'll wait for her question. We'll go ahead and start the demo if you don't mind.
Okay. Everyone can see my screen. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So I am starting on Verkada's homepage, because this is really where you're going to get a lot of the AI features that we keep talking about. Um, where it's showing person in the warehouse is not wearing a safety vest. So now if they're a violation of what the regulations are, you can go and be proactive on it instead of an incident occurring. And now you're at not only were they in violation, but you have nothing to, prove or show that they were the ones at fault. So it's a lot about also protecting the organization. But as you can see with AI here, this is, a quick
Mhm.
demonstration. There is a horn, there's a camera, and it's AI that's giving the announcement of you in the black with the backpack. You're in a private area, you need to leave, vacate the facility.
All
So
right.
this is how Verkada continues to bring AI into it, where you don't have to worry about having a live person monitoring the cameras and making that announcement where it's all pre-canned. Even going further into it, we talked about being able to detect climbing a fence, the slip and fall, and as well as whenever there may be fighting that's occurring, that's still within beta, which I think is supposed to be actually going live at the end of this month. And going back to the question about, facial authentication. So yes, unlocking the doors with a secure, hands-free facial authentication. The other thing that's happening too, that when I talk about Verkada being innovative, is within the last release, they are now, they've added in language translation when you're using an intercom. So, we know that there are multiple languages out there. And it's a great way to make sure that the visitors, the guests, whoever employees that are coming to that intercom are getting that seamless communication and to, ensure that their answers are being, or their questions are being answered and that they're being, taken care of accordingly. So jumping over to the actual demo, I'm going to remove my video because I will be fighting my internet to go live with this. This is our live demo. Our location is in Massachusetts. I reside in Michigan. So again, going back to the fact that, you can be anywhere at any time, any place to view your video footage or your doors or anything of that nature. It doesn't matter where you're at within the world. So I am now seeing all of our cameras that we have within our demo system. And as I scroll over to our tech lab, you can see it counts the number of devices, which is 7. And we do name them all, and I'll go into a couple of them here in a moment. But when I come up next to cameras, to the all products, this again, you will attest to the fact that everything is a single pane of glass. So I have my cameras, I have my access control, the air quality sensors that, we were talking about with the vaping or the gases, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, looking for humidity. If there's alarm for intrusion, the intercoms that we were referring to, and then workplace management, which is the one that's really becoming more and more popular because as visitors are coming into schools or organizations, instead of having to have somebody there to greet them at the door, they come in, they have, they can scan a QR code, they can, receive an invite from the host that's, conducting the meeting via email. And then when they come in and they sign in, instead of doing the normal pen and paper, they sign in. And if it's Teams integrated, so if you're using Teams as the host, you will get the alert that your guest has now arrived, and you can go greet them on a more personable level down in the, wherever the vestibule, the lobby, and bring them to the meeting space.
One of the easiest ways that you can get into a customer, a brand new customer that you've never done business with, is the guest management system. Because you know immediately if they have it or not. As you walk up, if you're writing your name on paper and pen, with paper and pen as a visitor, you already know they don't have the system in place. You don't have to wait for their internet contract to expire. You don't have to wait for something to break. This is just something you can offer out of the gates. And then now that once you're in the door, you can still circle back and tell them the internet and the voice and all that stuff. So it's a very simple sell out of the gates to where, like Nicole mentioned, you can have it run through APIs to, like a daycare can have it run through a national pedophile database before spitting out the white paper visitor badge. So it's completely custom or simple as the customer wants.
Well, one of the nice things you mentioned a minute ago about the access control and the automatic door lock if the face isn't recognized, that's a software innovation in addition to the product. It doesn't come in at an expense. It's being added to the platform as you use it, and those innovations will continue. So it's never going to be a static product. Like a traditional alarm system is going to have old technology, and 5 years, 10 years from now, it's obsolete. This is going to continue to evolve and improve the entire time you own it. Is that
Yeah,
is that
yeah, exactly. And Neil's question was, in order to do facial recognition, what company or app would be required to integrate? The thing about Verkada is everything is included. It's not parts of it or pieces of it, because it is software. As they innovate, even the older cameras get pushed out all the newer, cooler stuff. So if you bought a camera from Verkada 6 years ago, you don't have that newest and greatest fighting alert. You don't have the slip and fall alert. It'll all get pushed out.
that's fantastic. So you're buying it once, you're buying it right.
Absolutely.
You've got everything you need to manage your security in one device and one platform with one monthly fee, no surprises, no costs that are gonna surprise you later on when a camera breaks and you got to go out and buy a camera. Cameras aren't cheap.
They are not. But going back to the ROI, on my camera page, when on the left side down here, you can see the analytics.
Hmm.
So when you go to the analytics, and of course,
We can help you with that internet. You give us a call after the webinar. We'll be sure to help you with that.
so you can see your occupancy trends. So you can monitor your entries, your exits, and how long people are there within your facility, or if it's retail or wherever the case may be, you can see those trends. You can also create the queue trends to monitor the length of time that they're waiting. So if you think about, a coffee shop, how long are the guests waiting before they get their service or are greeted at the counter to place their order? Um, when it comes to the Helix trends, this is tying in with the point of sales. So, going back to the coffee shop, you can have the camera paired with the POS. So if you have 400 mochas that are being sold that day, you have the trends that will show you what is your highest coffee or latte that's being ordered. And it's all within that one place. So you don't have to go to multiple different URLs or different apps or different, servers to try and figure this all out. It all ties together. And then when you have alerts
Hmm.
that are being set up, and I'll go over the alerts momentarily, but when you're doing the alerts, you can also have those trends. What are the alert trends you're getting? How many people are coming to your facility that are new? Or how many of them are, employees versus guests and everything, associated with that? Or, how many times are there slip and falls that are taking place? So it just helps you be more proactive with the organization.
Well, I think what we've seen so far is there's a cost factor, right? With the managed solution, breaking it into bite-sized chunks and make it easier to manage and budget friendly. We've also seen how this can be add efficiency to an organization because you really don't need to have five people staring at monitors. You can have one person with a cell phone that does it all. But now we're starting to see, and we talked about revenue and how you can impact revenue, but the Helix trends and the Q trends really kind of speaks to the customer experience and improving that. And that's critically important. We've seen data that shows a one-star reduction in your reviews could cost a business 40% of its revenue. So everything you can do to impact that experience is valuable. So I
Yes.
really think that's another big plus that I wasn't aware of that you brought forward today.
Yes. So going back to the cameras, I'll dive into them real quick just to give just to show you the clarity, and I'll do a comparison of a couple of them.
Okay.
So these two here and the third one over here, these are our 5 megapixel cameras. The one out here on the roof and in our warehouse are both 4K quality. And then these two are actually intercoms. So those are the ones that have everything that's encompassed with the doorbell, the camera, and the two-way audio, as well as being a door reader, acting as a door reader. So in our 5 megapixel, I'll show you the clarity is still pretty solid. We are in our lab and you can see how it's all, there's grids here. You can actually highlight. So if there's a certain area that you want to see, how much movement is going on there, with me just highlighting that area, the camera, if you saw down here how fast it went back through the last 30 days of any type of person was detected in that highlighted area. If I
So if
highlight,
it is a theft, you can go back and see who entered that area and possibly was
yep.
involved in that theft. Okay. Wow.
And it's all immediate as well. So you're not having to look at if you did have an event
Right.
happen over the weekend, you don't
You're
have to
not
wait and
going
go,
through
oh,
5 hours of recordings to find that one piece you're looking for. 5 hours is probably a low number to try and
that's
search
pretty
that.
generous.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing that Verkada brought into the fold too is on this particular camera, and it can be on all cameras, you can go to the stats and you can see what's going on with your camera. So if it went offline a couple times, it may have been like power flickering, or because I know there's a lot of bad storms that went through. So this is, when we're getting the alerts, this camera went down for 2 minutes, right? If there was, when we get the alerts, if it's 15 minutes or greater because of things such as this, maybe a little bit of a brownout or something, when it's down for that 15 minutes, we're getting those alerts. And that's how we start, as the service and the solution that we're providing, we start communicating with the point of contact on site, letting them know that the camera's down and we're already troubleshooting it to determine what the cause is. Like whoever is, able to go in and look at this, that has the authority or, has the administrative rights, they can also see it at a glance themselves. And you can really see that the
It's
bandwidth,
easy. It's easy to read and easy to understand. It's not complicated.
absolutely.
Mhm.
But you can, when you're looking at the cameras, you can look at it, you can do people, vehicle, motion. So anytime motion is detected, or if you just want to get a little bit more granular and see whenever there's a vehicle, you have the ability to look at the history. So this is all history for the last 30 days because we only retain camera footage for 30 days. You can retain it up to 365 on 5 megapixel, and on the 4K, you can do up to 120 days. And then you have your people. So, really, if you want to see who are the people, now you're getting even closer. So if this person was somebody that was a disgruntled customer or a disgruntled employee, this is where I can flag them as a person of interest, so that if any of the cameras detect their face in the future, then, I can get those alerts and react immediately.
No, that's fascinating.
If I needed to archive anything, because there is unlimited archiving. So if there was a clip that I needed to archive, I have the ability off of this camera to go back and view that archive.
So you see something you're not sure, maybe that doesn't look right, or you're not sure who this person is, you can move it into the archive in the event something is missing,
Yep,
something
absolutely.
happens. Okay.
You can
And
annotate.
anything that's archived gets saved indefinitely. So until you press that delete button, it gets saved forever.
Yes, and you can annotate it as to why you archived it, what the situation is. You can create an incident report if you need to create an incident report and tie in all of the different footage that will be associated to it, and then
Mhm.
to share it to local authorities, or if you need to share it to the insurance company or to HR, you can share it. You can share that video footage, allow them access to it's a URL that gets shared, sent to them, and they have access to it for whatever length of time that you grant them access to it. And then you can also give them the ability to download that footage themselves and save it for, to their server.
Well, makes it a
Uh,
lot easier to manage a system when you have access to this data and you can go back and search and just an archive and just manage a lot of things without having to spend a lot of time.
Absolutely. And then when you do the pairing of,
Hey, Nicole, are you going to show us at some point the search mechanism we talked about with the backpack or
uh,
license plate frames? Can we see any of that? Or
I might,
because I think this was probably the most eyebrow raising thing for me was if someone mentions that there's somebody in the building that shouldn't be here and they're walking around with the backpack, you can quickly pull up all the video. Is that correct? Of that person or of anybody wearing a backpack and pull them up immediately, or a red shirt in this case.
yeah, I'm not getting, I'm not
Nothing.
on it. Um,
Oh, because this is live, so it's a little different.
yeah, it's a little different. So, I'm not getting any hits on that, but let me see.
But you can search by vehicle, personal, like clothing. You can search by even license plates, I understand. Is
No,
that
it's so granular now where you can say, show me all women with Louis Vuittons, and it pulls out all the Gucci's, the Coaches, it'll only show you Louis Vuittons. Like it gets that specific and granular anymore. Or show me all white electric vehicles,
right?
non-Prius, and it'll give you all the Teslas. So it really, really gets in there.
So there's backpack, and you can even pick colors if you want.
Upper body will go for some
I mean,
reason.
I think the power of this is important because if you do have someone in your facility, you have a description, trying to figure out where they're at so you can get security to that part of the building quickly is important. And maybe find out that it isn't somebody suspicious, it's a co-owner or an investor wandering around, right? You don't want to jump that guy.
Right. So it's going through right now the last 30 days. I did red shirt, blue, wearing a backpack. You can even do person wearing safety glasses, hard hat, safety vest, safety gloves.
Hmm, there we go.
So far, there's one.
We really need to help you with your internet.
Um,
Next week we'll be covering network as a service. That may be something you want to sit in on, Nicole.
so here you can see anytime somebody's wearing a backpack, it pulled it up. It kind of, I did, it ended up taking my colors away. But it can get pretty detailed like that. Like, Josh, I mentioned if, somebody wearing Louis or carrying a Louis Vuitton purse, you can customize it to even get those alerts ahead of time. So if anyone that's walking into your facility, especially if you're in retail, you want to be able to identify those clients, you can get those alerts set up so you can go greet them or send your top, sales performer out there to go greet them.
Yeah, and I understand with the backpack, it even looks for the straps. Even if it doesn't have a clear view of the backpack, if it sees the strap, it'll pull that up.
Yeah, it's very intuitive.
It's crazy. Amazing product.
It really is. Going to the, since I'm on the cameras, I'll do the alerts down here at the bell. So with the new alerts, you can see there are AI powered alerts. So these were already customized for, K through 12, government, retail, manufacturing, healthcare, law enforcement. You have restaurants, multifamily. There's so many different ones that have already been pre-done. So person not wearing the high visibility clothing, person without their hard hat. These are the alerts that a lot of organizations, to ensure the workplace safety is being met and that there are no injuries, or that, that the healthcare workers are wearing their medical gloves and, doing things that they're supposed to be doing. You can do those alerts to make sure that they're happening. You can
Or
also
or food service could be another area where make sure there's gloves on or people washing their hands. And
or a person not wearing a badge when they're supposed to be wearing a badge. That can help, deter the tailgating that's going on. Or even whenever there's, police vehicles or delivery trucks, there's so many different alerts that you can get. So these were the AI alerts that have been established. But you can also do, this is where you would do the activity detection, the falling, climbing over a fence, or fighting. And the smart list is the one where new or unlisted people are being detected and you're getting those alerts. So, there's so many different ways to do it. Crowd, I laugh at crowd because you can do a crowd of people, you can do a crowd of vehicles, and you can do a crowd of animals.
gotta watch those raccoons, man. They'll steal everything.
Right. But you can do loitering. So you can set a period of time of somebody loitering outside your facility. Maybe it's closed and nobody should be there after like 8 p.m. And all of a sudden there's a group of people that are loitering, standing out there. It's 8:30. You can get those alerts and then go into the camera feed and see what's occurring, and address it, right away.
Right. It's insane the technology, what it can do.
Hmm.
And when you look at the pricing of the service, the value is off the charts in terms of what it can do, what it can manage. And now
Yeah.
with the revenue potential that's baked into it and the customer experience being, by monitoring lines, that's just revolutionary in this space.
Yeah, and there's a question about is training and initial alert rule setting part of the included in the install? Can I call help with any for new if I can read, can I call in for help with new rules and policy changes at any time without charge? Yeah, so we don't train everybody up front. We'll do ongoing training if they need it, ongoing support. We build the entire security posture out of the gates based on what that customer is needing. 9 times out of 10 they always come back to us and have us redo the entire security posture because they set up too many alerts or they didn't realize something was
Right.
happening over here. And once they get into motion of using it, then they realize kind of a little bit better how it impacts or how they can use it differently.
That's a great point. Yeah, great question. Thanks, Rick.
And so the other thing too with the cameras, as I'm looking at today's alerts that have been going on, motion detected. So the cameras do act as that motion detector instead of having to put motion sensors out there because there are a lot of organizations that still, go back to the old ways of I need a motion detector sensor, because I need to know when somebody's in my room or within the facility. That's where the cameras really, take over that because the cameras can detect that motion. When you do access control and you pair cameras to it, what's
Mhm.
really good about this is you can go watch the alert. So if I go to my reports here, and this will tell me all of my doors when they were open, there's a person of interest that we have flagged. So this is something that I would want to go and see. And because the camera is paired, I can go watch the event. And when I click on it,
Poor Owen, he's in trouble.
right, and,
He's being monitored.
and there,
There is. Well, he looks like he's trouble.
but that's, it automatically takes you to the event that's occurring. So you don't have to scroll through, hours and hours of video footage.
And those little blocks in the bottom, that's where there's motion in the camera. Okay, great. That's
Correct.
makes it incredibly easy to find what's happening.
Because the cameras do record 24/7. And so then I can, fast
Hmm.
forward up to the next one, or let it play through just to see if anything ends up catching, maybe there's a spider or a bat that flies through, that it doesn't pick up. But it can actually pick up animals such as birds. So I can sit here and let it play and it will get to the next one, or I have the ability to grab it and forward it or hit the arrows on the side to take me to the next event.
What kind of trouble are the birds causing right now, Nicole? What are you seeing? What's happening? Is it shoplifting? Is it stealing snacks? Or, I have seen a couple of videos where dogs will run in and grab potato chips and run out. I don't know if you've seen those on social media. I guess you
No,
can protect against that. Maybe blacklist that dog in the future. Do a panic lock. Uh,
no, the only thing that we see with birds right now is they're building nests probably where they shouldn't be building the nests. And we can
wow,
get, this is our external camera. What you see back here is the Boston skyline. This is our 4K camera, so you can see that the ripples in the river are, even there and identified. You can see the freeway back there. So
hmm. It's real
it's
clear.
a lot. And then you can zoom in if I needed to, and I can draw lines of, people crossing and, change the direction. I want alerts or, give me any time. And as you can see, it does pull somebody up and you can see the direction of
That's
what
great.
they went. So there really is, just the details that you get out of the video footage is by far superior
And
to
Rob, you
other.
mentioned bandwidth usage on these. What's cool about Verkada cameras is it's basically using 20 to 40 kilobits per second per camera, so it's almost nothing. It's sending thumbnails to the cloud and you're unzipping them as you view them. So you don't have to have a separate internet circuit. You don't have to have a static IP. It's very simple. If you lose internet service and you still have power, your cameras are still recording nonstop. When you get the internet back, it uploads all the video content back into the cloud. So as long as you always have power, and we provide backup power supplies, you always have the ability to have that interaction with your camera.
No, that's a brilliant solution. There's nothing else like this in the market at any price point. And if you're using an older, outdated system, I would definitely urge you to reach out to us at info@technologysource.com so we can introduce you to the folks at FISAS and talk through a potential solution with them, as it really is revolutionary in every aspect. Nicole, is there anything else you wanted to show us on the demo?
This will be the last thing I touch on and then
Okay.
leave time for anyone to ask questions. These are, our vape sensors. As you can see, there is no vaping going on. But we also use it, this does happen in a lot of servers or, IDFs where they
Mm,
monitor the temperature because, you have
yeah,
to keep a certain setting to ensure that the servers are not overheating. So at a quick glance, this is showing you what the carbon dioxide is at with the noise level, humidity levels, and the temperature.
and that's checking the overall room. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Would that be something you can use inside of a cooler or a freezer, or is that strictly for mounting on a wall somewhere?
It's usually mounted on the ceiling, or when you're trying to detect vape and cigarette smoke, it's on the ceiling. If you're trying to detect the carbon dioxide monoxide, that's usually down on the wall, either by the furnace or over by the whatever gas oven or stove that you're using.
How are most data centers managing the temperature? I would imagine they'd have to have some sort of
They
device.
so what they we did a recent install with a couple IDFs out in a manufacturing
Okay.
facility where they had it installed there to keep track of the temperature, and then when the temperature would raise up to a certain point, they would get the alert and
Oh,
then
wow.
go to see what was happening. Was it an HVAC issue or something else?
I would imagine water would be bad for data centers too. So knowing that humidity is suddenly going up, I mean, think about it. If you're in the northern part of the United States and you're in a metal building for your data center and somehow a pipe freezes, that can be a bad day for a data center. So having that notification quickly that there's water or high humidity might be good.
Absolutely.
Not that there's a lot of people on the call that run data centers, but just kind of an interesting thought.
Well, you could also use it for decibels also. So we have one customer that they're
Hmm.
using it more for knowing if their backup generator comes on. So that way they know if their power is out. So they're using their sensor using the decibel to hear if it goes above based on it turning on, then that's when they know to deploy something or they know power went out originally.
Yeah, and your creativity with developing these solutions is crazy. I would have never thought of that. That's great that you have that flexibility and that creativity to think of these different solutions that work with your product. That
Yeah,
sounds like
we have six Verkada engineers on staff, and every single solution is custom done
hmm.
thoroughly. From a sales perspective, it gets sometimes frustrating because I just want my contract, and they're because it's liability, they put so much time and effort into it to make sure it's absolutely correct.
Yep.
No, it's incredible. Do we have any final questions? Let's check. I think we've got them all. Anybody else have a question for Josh or Nicole surrounding the Verkada product? We'll give them a second. Well, it's been enlightening to see since the last time we met, which was probably a year ago, how many changes have occurred to the product. It's really developed. There's probably two or three new attributes that weren't here last time we talked. So again, it's not a static purchase where you buy something and over time it becomes obsolete. It's constantly being updated. Um, so great stuff, gang. We appreciate you being here. Next month we will be hosting a product called Network as a Service. It's a breakthrough service, changes the game for anybody that has a wide area network. We'd invite you to join us. I want to thank our hosts today, Josh and Nicole. I should call you our experts. They're our experts because they're amazing at what they do. And if you want to get in touch with them, reach out to us at info@technologysource.com, and we will organize a presentation and or design if you want to move forward. So anything in closing that either one of you would like to add?
No, I mean we're not selling cameras, right? And I think that's the biggest
Right.
message is
It's
we're not selling cameras. We're selling an actual solution that is designed for return on your investment, for protection, safety, that proactive experience to even for customers as well. So,
You got a thumbs up on that one.
Very well
and
put.
Rob, I'll send you over a 17-minute Verkada demo video. It's a little outdated, but it'll get any person that reaches out to you, shoot it out to them because it'll get their wheels spinning as far as different opportunities, different things they can sell to their customers. So I'll send that over to you in a minute.
Yeah, and listen, the folks at FISAS are available to do live demos like you saw today. Just reach out to us. Again, info@technologysource.com, and we'll get that arranged. Thanks for joining us. We'll see everybody next month on the next virtual roundtable.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot,
Everyone
guys.
take
Thanks, everyone.